The National Student Assembly, the NSA, is convening for the fourth time since the Economic Freedom Fighters Students Command was founded in 2015. Ordinarily, the NSA convenes every after 2 years. However, due to the COVID-19 regulation which restricted gatherings, particularly its regulation in relation to indoor gathering, it became extremely difficult for the third NSA-CSCT to meet its constitutional mandate as provided by the Constitution. This period has been amongst the most challenging in the history of the student life. The introduction of online learning, while innovative, came as a shock to most institutions of higher learning. Understanding the frustration and limitation brought about by dysfunctional disbursement of NSFAS, which include late tuition approval, payment of allowances, accommodation, provision of study material and gadgets. The emergence of COVID-19 worsened the situation as teaching and learning was solely dependent on virtual learning platforms. Universities did not have adequate infrastructure, human resource, and necessary training as well as skills to meet the basic requirement for online or virtual learning. The situation was more dire in TVET colleges, which were already lagging in terms of resourcing, infrastructure, accommodation, and timeous allocation of allowances. Gathered here, it is no doubt that TVET colleges constitute majority of institutions of higher learning, and yet they receive the least funding and attention from the Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology. This calls for an immediate plan of action which seeks to benchmark both TVETs and universities. This benchmarking must focus on 1. Curriculum development, 2. Tuition allocation, 3. Allowance prioritization, and 4. Accommodation provision, amongst others. In institutions of higher learning, students best get their point across with arrogant management through activism such as shutdowns, protests, and similar demonstration. It remains a common fact that the Eff Students Command is a contact-based and contact-driven organization. Through gatherings, we are able to educate, conscientize, and agitate students. The gatherings also assist to unite fighters for a common purpose, promote social cohesion, and uplift the revolutionary morale and spirit. The founders of the Eff Students Command never imagined a situation in which teaching and learning will be moved from a classroom setting to a virtual platform. And this is underpinned by our Constitution, which requires physical presence for the establishment of branches. This resulted in a situation in which our leadership was expected to develop ways and system of functioning in an unusual climate, while at the very same time leading in the forefront and championing the students' interest. The Assembly must reflect on how the organization should find relevancy in the fourth industrial revolution and beyond. The third CSCT, even under these difficulties, under these difficult circumstances, was able to push back against this establishment and ensured that we implement our program of action where possible amidst a global pandemic. It was during this time that the character of the organization was put to test. Through the uncompromising leadership and a determined membership base, the organization was forcefully resisting both internal and external forces which had the potential of crippling the organization. The organization continued to have political education programs online, wherein official CSCT members and the membership-led program and platform for solution towards reviving activism in institutions of higher learning. External forces which were contended included the EFF Students Command taking the Minister of Higher Education to court after he instructed the UNISA Council to deregister over 20,000 first-time entering students. The EFF Students Command was the only student movement which was active and vocal at the time and pushed back on the strong belief that the minister was abusing his powers in order to use the regulation to silence student activism. Little did he know that the EFF Students Command will devise means to ensure that it pushes back from the minister's pseudo-communist policies imposed to an institution of higher learning. The EFF Students Command saw victory as the court pronounced on our position, and 20,000 black marginalized students were given access to education. To think that was a nightmare. To think that was a nightmare. Sorry. To think that the nightmare was over with the relaxation of the COVID regulation, a bigger calamity now awaits at our doorsteps, with load shedding stage 6 being implemented, resulting in power cuts for over 6 hours a day, and some areas even longer. With the classes now being online, teaching and learning is interrupted through the shutdown of internet. 2 hours without electricity translate to 2 lecture sessions missed every day, which can result in high level of failure, poor performance, which can summarily lead to dropouts. Fighters gathered here, we know that without a shadow of a doubt, the ANC government has and continues to fail us. Its neoliberal policies, inactive government, and corruption keep escalating and aggravating an already suffocating black student. This is evident in the failure of the government to implement its own pronouncement on free education, which was made on the 16th of December 2017. Fighters, this assembly must take a resolution to be carried by the next layer of leadership on an immediate plan on the attainment of free, quality, and well-resourced and decolonized education. We have been preaching free education since the formation of the EFF Students Command, and yet we have not attained our generational mission. We are a June 16 movement. What makes us different from the movement which inspired the formation of the EFF Students Command, which caught fire in all tips of South Africa? That generation was young, even consisting of high school students, determined and resilient, that achieved their immediate mission. We must assimilate the same spirit to overcome the establishment, especially in the current context. How will we overcome COVID, commercialized education, load shedding, and all forces which continue to keep down the black child? The EFF, through its capable leadership, remains the only viable alternative to these failed forces and will usher in the change which is so needed by attaining economic freedom in our lifetime. Fighters, standing here, we must be inspired by the likes of Amika Cabral in reflecting on the status quo, especially as it regards to the road which lies ahead. When he says, unquote, hide nothing from the masses of our people, tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told, mask no difficulties, challenges, failures, claim no easy victories, of quote. This report is inspired by the exact aforementioned words. The report will cover the period between July 2019 and July 2022 under the following subheadings. Number 1 is the Central Student Command Team. Number 2, officials. Number 3, the headquarters. Number 4, portfolios of deployment. Number 5, membership. Number 6, state of provinces. Number 7, national program of action. Number 8, the relationship between the EFF and the Eff Students Command. Number 9, gender-based violence in institution. Number 10, governance. Number 11, obituaries. And number 12, it will be our conclusion. Number 2, the Central Student Command Team, the CSCT. The third NSA, which was convened on the 12th to the 14th of July 2019, elected 21 members in keeping with Section 11, subsection 1 of the Constitution, comprising of 5 officials and 16 additional members as seen below. The directly elected officials, Comrade President Mandla Shkwambane, Deputy President Komisar Lizamfana, Secretary General Komisar Muzikoza, Deputy Secretary General Komisar Mbali Zondo, Treasurer General Komisar Inamkula. Additional members, Komisar El Masinya, Komisar Sianyulu, Komisar Prince Msomi, Komisar Isaac Mashabela, Komisar Mafia Fane, Komisar Emi Noluvola, Komisar Tabang Mlwati, Komisar Tebatsi Makura, Komisar Nsovo Nkuna, Komisar Nompumelelo Ndlazi, Komisar Mphomuhle, Komisar Kolamehlo Makhulu, Komisar Daniel Tato, Komisar Nonhlanhla Shabalala, Komisar Samgelisiwe Ninela, and Komisar Koliswa Tutula. The composition of the CSCT has since decreased to 15, owing to six resignations by the following fighters: Fighter Lizamfana, Fighter Daniel Tato, Fighter Nonhlanhla Shabalala, Fighter Samgelisiwe Ninela, Fighter Koliswa Tutula, and Fighter Mphomuhle. This resignation impacted negatively on the work of the organization as it left portfolios unattended, which resulted in no activities under those respective portfolios. The CSCT engaged on this state of affairs and noted that the Constitution does not make any provision for corruption. The matter is now placed before the Assembly for deliberation. Since the last NSA, the CSCT has convened on numerous occasions to discuss matters of national importance regarding the mandate that was given by the Third National Student Assembly in the Free State University of Free State, Bloemfontein. In the period under review, the CSCT convened on 15 occasions, with some meetings being convened physically and others virtually. The Central Working Command. Section 11, subsection 2 of the Constitution provides that after being elected, the CSCT shall elect 11 members of the CSCT consisting of officials. Accordingly, the CWC composition elected by the CSCT of the third NSA consisted of the following fighters: one, President Komisar Mandla Shkwambane; 2, Deputy President Fighter Lizamfana; 3, Secretary General Komisar Muzikoza; 4, Treasurer General Komisar Inamkula; 5, Deputy Secretary General Komisar Mbali Zondo; 6, Komisar Kolamehlo Makhulu; 7, Komisar El Masenya; 8, Komisar Nompumelelo Ndlazi; 9, Komisar Prince Msomi; 10, Komisar Nsovo Nkuna; and 11, Fighter Mphomuhle. As alluded to earlier, the Deputy President and Fighter Mpho resigned, bringing the composition of the CWC to 9. The Central Working Command, the CWC, is tasked with the responsibility of attending to the day-to-day operation of the organization. It continuously ensured the proper and timeous implementation of the CSCT resolution. In the period under review, the CSCT has convened 4 times. Number 3, officials. The officials continue to meet bi-weekly and prior to CSCT and CWC meetings and on urgent basis in order to deal with the day-to-day operation of the organization and process serious matters referred to them, either by external stakeholders and or members of the organization. In the period under review, the officials appeared in numerous platforms, amongst them press conferences, organizational events such as rallies and marches, as well as meetings with stakeholders. Apart from these activities, officials attended to deployments. Presently, the officials are deployed as follows. President deployed in Gauteng and Limpopo, Secretary General in Gauteng and Mpumalanga, Deputy Secretary General in KwaZulu-Natal, and Treasurer General in the Western Cape. The headquarters. The headquarters of the organization is located at Winnie Mandela House, 177 Marshall Street, Gandhi Square, Gauteng Province. It is the core center of the organization and remains the interface between leadership, membership, and stakeholders. It is constituted of the following key departments. 4.1, the Presidency. 4.2, Office of the Secretary General. 4.3, Office of the Treasurer General. Presidency. The Presidency comprises of the following. A, the President. B, the Deputy President. C, the National Spokesperson. D, Research and Political Commissar. The President. As the political head of activities of the organization, the capable leadership of President Commissar Mandla Shkwambane engage in a number of activities, programs and interventions aimed at inspiring confidence, informing society, and supporting the downtrodden masses of our people in institutions of higher learning. These initiatives and programs were carried out despite the conditions presented by COVID-19, the senseless lockdowns by the government, and the closed political space. Amongst these are attending organizational meetings, addressing at rallies, as well as media briefings, and leading delegation to meetings with stakeholders. At the inception of every CSCT meeting, the President provided insightful political overviews which led to robust engagement and deliberations. One of the key issues which the President has continuously expressed strong views on is the attainment of free and decolonized education. Grounded and concerned with the struggles of the people, President, as a ground force himself, hit the ground running as we began the third layer of the EFF Students Command, giving the EFF Students Command the first press briefing on the 2nd of January 2022, where he highlighted concerns around how the government of the day is poorly dealing with the administration of education and NSFAS. The President further outlined the EFFS's position on various institutions of higher learning who continue to exclude students on basis of affordability. the Deputy President. According to Section 16 of the Constitution, the Deputy President is responsible for the development and coordination of policies of the Eff Students Command and driving the constitutional development process of the EFFSC. Furthermore, the Deputy President is the chairperson of the Eff Students Command Disciplinary Committee. However, the Deputy President himself was found wanting on a number of occasions. During the first EFF plenum of the Second National People's Assembly on the 5th to the 9th of February 2022, the officials of the EFF convened a meeting and invited the Eff Students Command officials. The Commander-in-Chief and President of the EFF, Julius Silo Malema, emphasized the importance of organizational discipline, the expectation of the Eff Students Command officials, and revolutionary code of conduct. Amongst the issues that were discussed, the EFF officials expressed distress at the misconduct of the Deputy President, Faitali Zamfan. On social media, deliberations were made. The Deputy President apologized and his apology was accepted. In addition, a verbal warning was made. In early March, during the same year, the officials of the Eff Students Command first received a complaint from Treasurer General, Commissar Inam Kula, that the Deputy President was found to be sowing internal divisions in the EFFSC at UCT. Secondly, he was seen conniving with members of the Eff Students Command from UCT branch that had been witnessed insulting the Treasurer General. As a result, the officials convened an urgent conference call to consider the Deputy President's misconduct. The Deputy President was found to be wrong and he apologized. Thereafter, a week later, the Deputy President sent a notice of leave. He also submitted a sabbatical letter which was viewed as a resignation by the Eff Students Command officials, hence it was rejected. After deliberations with the officials, the Deputy President wrote a letter withdrawing his request. A verbal warning was made yet again. A verbal warning was yet again given to him. On the 11th of June 2020, the Secretary General, Commissar Marshal Dlamini, drew the attention of the Eff Students Command officials to the fact that the EFF had planned a program for the June 16 virtual rally, which coincided with the EFF Students Command program, to which the EFFSC President will also be addressing. This clash resulted in the program being merged. The Eff Students Command officials had a meeting to discuss the matter and resolved on cancelling the EFFSC June 16 program. The Deputy President went on social media to post a statement that seeks to undermine the decision taken by the officials and the guidance given by the EFF on the matter. He was quoted in his words saying, unquote, "To all members of the EFF Students Command, once mighty June 16 movement, ni right of quote." After the above-mentioned incident, the officials of the EFF Students Command decided to write a letter to the Deputy President explaining to him the intention to suspend him while allowing him the opportunity to clarify his utterances on social media. As a consequence, a CWC meeting was called on the 21st of June 2022 to speak about issues concerning the Eff Students Command. Amongst others was the conduct of the Deputy President of the Eff Students Command on social media. The CWC resolved to temporarily suspend the Deputy President. All due processes were observed and the issue of initiation initiation of charges vested with the Central Student Disciplinary Committee, working with the legal team of the EFF. On the 28th of June, we received a letter from the suspended Deputy President demanding that the EFF Students Command communicate his suspension both to branches and social media. This letter was giving the organization an ultimatum that if his suspension is not communicated by a specific date, he will break silence in the public. We view his argument to be unconstitutional, his letter as baseless threats and unrepentant behavior which if carried out, will be in contravention of the condition of his suspension. The officials did not succumb to the threats, as the ultimatum was viewed as holding the organization at ransom. This saga was followed by the Deputy President's resignation on the 16th of December 2020. Fighters, this kind of ill-disciplined conduct, characterized by sowing divisions, undermining leadership, disobeying decisions of higher structures, defining oneself outside the organization, and above all, bringing the organization into disrepute should never happen again. The national spokesperson. The communication in the Eff Students Command is centered around robust engagement and highlighting the plight of our people, bringing society's attention to the fundamental contribution that exists in institutions of higher learning and through broadcast on different media channels. The media and communication is headed by Commissar Kolametlo Makulu and Commissar Siyanyulu. The heads of media and communication, together with the EFF Students Command President and Secretary General, compiles press statements and release them on behalf of the EFF Students Command in all media platforms. The Communication Department has issued various statements on a range of political affairs insofar as the posture of the organization is concerned. For the period under review, the department has issued numerous press statements from July 2019 to July 2022. It has covered all the programs and events during the period under review. The table below indicates the number of statements issued in each year. The leadership of the EFF Students Command across provinces engaged in a number of radio interviews and television interviews during the period under review. The organization has an active social media page with greater traction than most oppositions. In the period under review, the social media page of the EFF Students Command has grown as indicated below. The research, policy, and political education. The political education was headed by Commissar Mpho Mutle prior to his resignation in June 2022. The vacancy remains unfilled. The research, policy, and political education commissar organizes and oversees the political school of the EFF Students Command, develops policies on strategic fields as per the ideology and principles of the organization, conducts research on specific issues in and outside the EFF Students Command. The only activity that was conducted in the period under review was the online political education classes that took place during the first lockdown caused by COVID-19 pandemic. No other activity were conducted. Office of the Secretary General. The Secretary General, as the political head of the Secretary General's office, tasked with, amongst other functions, conveying, communicating, and articulating key decisions of the EFF Students Command to all structures, remained a significant figure in the functionality and monitoring of key organizational resolution and and supervised their immediate implementation. The following functions also form part of the Office of the Secretary General. We have organizing, membership, human resource department, SRC governance, and legal officer. Organizing. The organizer is Commissar Prince Msomi, who is tasked with initiating and conducting projects of the EFF Students Command. Together with the Secretary General, implements all programs of the EFF Students Command. In conjunction with the Treasurer General, the organizer is required to raise funds for the projects of the Students Command and performs all functions organized by the EFF Students Command in respect of programs. However, the Commissar neglected and showed no interest in this portfolio. The Commissar never organized or fundraised for a single program as required by the portfolio. As a result, never organized or fundraised. As a result, through the direct intervention of the EFF SC officials, the organizing department still continued. Amongst programs successfully organized are the 2020 picket to the Department of Higher Education, the EFF Students Command Youth Picket in 2021, the Student Governance Summit in 2022, the 2022 March to DHEAD, and the Unemployment March to the Union Building. A detailed report on the programs of action convened in the period under review is alluded later in the report. Membership. Membership is the lifeblood of the organization. By recruiting and keeping members, the organization is able to remain relevant. However, above all, what is needed is not just membership, but activism within the membership base. A detailed membership report will be provided later in this report. Human Resource Department. The Human Resource Department is headed by the Deputy Secretary General. Amongst other issues managed in the section are staff recruitment. For the period between July 2019 and July 2022, the organization only has one employee, that is the administrator in the Secretary General's office, Fighter Tato Maunyu. SRC governance. The attainment of institutional power can best be demonstrated through consistent and absolute hegemony in SRC elections victories. The participation of the EFF Students Command in SRC election is a critical component to which the Assembly's attention should be drawn. As such, a detailed report on governance is alluded to later in the report. Legal and Transformation Officer. The responsibility of the legal officer includes the responsibilities to consolidate legal services for the EFF Students Command and to execute legal cases on behalf of the EFF Students Command together with President and Secretary General. The Commissar deployed to the Legal and Transformation portfolio is Commissar Nompumelelo Ndlazi. The department, assisted by EFF legal team, was able to resolve and process the following legal matters. 1, a case between the EFFSC, or the case of the EFFSC versus University of South Africa, the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Executive Council, UNISA, Council of South Africa, Senate of South Africa. The facts. The EFFSC approached the court, the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Division, Pretoria, in a case against the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Blade Nzimande, and the University of South Africa to have the directive given by the Minister to cut the number of first-time entering students by 20,000 overturned. The status. The court set aside the directive given by the Minister and dismissed the case with cost. Number 2, the state versus Khaya Xegesh. On the 1st of October 2019, where Kayaklegeshe made appearance on the High Court, petition was withdrawn from the matter to be heard at the Johannesburg Magistrate Court. The second court appearance on the 9th of October 2019. The Magistrate Court heard the matter for application for bail and leave to appeal and postponed the matter. The status on the matter. Kayaklegeshe was released on the 16th of December 2019 after he was granted a remission. Number 3, disciplinary hearing of Nkangala TVET College with Bank Campus, wherein Mr. A. Sikulane and Mr. K. Kloyan. The fact, the disciplinary hearing was set down for hearing on the 2nd of March for the student to be granted legal representation and for the matter to be postponed. Postponement was denied by the chairperson and the matter was handled internally by the institution. Subsequently, the students were given a written warning by the institution. The case was led by Advocate S. Sindilukolo. The status of the case, the file closed. Number 4. Z.O. Matonsela and 5 other Devon University of Technology students and 2 others. The fact, the security guard shot and killed a student during protest. This matter is being conducted on contingency of the family. The case is led by Advocate Tingo Waitobi. The status, defendants raised an exception which was upheld with cost to be borne by counsel. The second exception was raised by the defendant and will be argued on the 31st of August 2022. Number 5. The duty and El Masiti and 20 others. The university brought an urgent application interdicting the 21 students cited from being physically situated within 50 meters of any of the university's premises when marching, gathering, protesting, or demonstrating inter alia. The status, awaiting the amendment settlement agreement to be confirmed by our council, whereafter Rule Nisi will be discharged, each party bearing their own cost. Number 6. Disciplinary hearing of Devon University of Technology, Mr. S. Ngobo and Ms. S. Dlamini and Mr. S. N. Gunen. The fact, the students were placed on suspension by the university pending the outcome of the disciplinary hearing for allegedly taking part in damaging university's property and intimidation of staff members. The case is led by Advocate T. Ramukhal. The status, the parties are to agree on a date in August 2022 where the disciplinary hearing will be set down for hearing. Number 7. Sizwe Ngobo, UKZN student. The facts. The student was shot in the eye with a rubber bullet during protest. Subsequently lost his eye. Delictual actions being brought against the university, led by Advocate T. Ramuhale and Advocate T. Poo. Status, letter of demand to be issued by the 1st of August 2022, council in the process of drafting summons. Number 8, the Central University of Technology, the FFSC and 13 others. The fact, urgent application was brought by the university interdicting the student from being physically situated within 150 meters of any of their university's premises when marching, gathering, protesting, and demonstrating inter al. Led by Advocate Z. Sisilan. The status of the case. 26 May 2022, the rule NISI was discharged, each party to pay their own cost. Number 9. In a disciplinary hearing of the Central University of Technology student T. Mulem, the student was charged with assault, failing to follow policies and procedures, participating in an unlawful gathering and protest, incitement of violence, inter al. The disciplinary hearing was held on the 10th of May. The outcome of the hearing, the student was given a written warning valid for 365 days from the date of the outcome. An appeal was launched to ensure that the student is also cleared of the charges, to ensure that they do not appear and affect his letter of good standing upon graduation. The case was led by Advocate Z. Sisilan. The status, appeal lodged with the university. Number 10. In the disciplinary hearing of the Central University of Technology, P. Monyan, the student was charged with assault, failing to follow policies and procedure, participating in unlawful gathering and protest, incitement of violence, and inter al. The student was not represented by us during the initial proceedings and only brought the matter to appeal stage. The status, appeal against the sanctions to be brought on the 22nd of July 2022 today. Number 11. The University of Free State against the Students Command. Interdict was brought against the student for unlawful strike action, led by Advocate S. Sindukol. Rule NISI discharge and the court order was agreed between the parties. Number 12. In the disciplinary hearing of University of Free State, Bloemfontein campus, a student charged with bringing the organization's name into disrepute and intimidation of staff, awaiting sanction and the outcome of the disciplinary proceedings from council. Number 13. S. Mtigane R. Mahaledise and K. Boyzin and L. Jacobs, drivers and interfering with the registration proceedings inter al. The disciplinary hearing was set down for hearing from the 4th to the 8th of July 2022, led by Advocate S. Sindukol. The chairperson to respond by the 25th of July 2022. The last one. In the disciplinary hearing of University of the Free State Kwa campus, Z. S. Zwane, N. Mazibugo, S. T. Masugu, X. Ndimane, L. Sbande, B. Sabel. Students were charged with bringing the university's name into disrepute, intimidation of staff, and overall violence inter al. The disciplinary hearing set down for hearing on the 25th to the 29th July 2022. Office of the Treasurer General. The Treasurer General administers the finances of the EFF Students Command, ensures that expenditure of funds are utilized within the parameters of the approved EFFSC budget, publishes and distributes quarterly reports in respect of the financial status of the EFF Students Command, keeps record of all financial transactions of the Students Command, presents an audited report at the National Student Assembly or at any time that it is requested. The Treasurer General also constitute and coordinate the Eff Students Command Finance Committee, which is responsible for the formulation of the SRC budget and also fundraising for the Eff Students Command programs and other activities. The Treasurer General's office continues to function even though restricted by the lack of financial flows into the Eff Students Command account. During the period under review, the Treasurer General's office successfully managed to keep records of the financial activities in the organization. Fundraising. There remains a heavy reliance on the EFF for operation and programs. The fundraising activity is largely a non-existent activity. The Eff Students Command relies heavily on the mother body for its operation, which is a cause for concern. SRC levies. It is not easy for the Treasurer General's office to recover these levies as they are deposited directly into the accounts of SRC members. Furthermore, the overall collection of the SRC levies continue to be a difficult undertaking as the Treasurer General's office lacks personnel. Assets. The Eff Students Command assets are provided by the EFF. These include the vehicle that is provided to the President's office, gadgets of the office bearers, the President and the Secretary General. The Treasurer General remains the custodian of the organizational assets, and a separate report on the financial state of the organization will be provided by the Treasurer General. Number 6, portfolios of responsibilities of CSC team. The work of portfolios in advancing the rights and interests of students cannot be downplayed. The founding members of the Eff Students Command understood the wide variety of matters affecting students pertaining to areas such as communication, training, gender mobilization, sports, political education, residency, financing, safety, social welfare, disability, access to justice, and how these dynamics affect students at both undergraduate and postgraduate level. With this understanding, the Constitution, Section 16, was crafted in such a way that it empowers the organization to establish portions which will give momentum to the realization of the students' interest in the following areas. Academic matters affecting students through coordinating branches of the Students Command. These include coordinating social awareness campaigns and attending to matters relating to students' concerns such as transport, catering, and financial aid. Furthermore, ensuring that matters of accommodation are attended to in campuses. Tackling gender issues, initiating programs of the Eff Students Command, fundraising and project management, sports and culture, as well as international relations strengthening, political education, stakeholder identification and stakeholder relation strengthening, disability rights advocacy, safety and security of students both in and outside campus, attending to academic matters affecting students, not only at undergraduate level, but also postgrad level, access to justice. We now tend to deal with each of the portfolios. Education and Training Officer. The Basic Education Officer was headed by fighter Xolisa Tutula, who later resigned. This portfolio is responsible for all academic matters affecting students, learning, and coordinates all secondary schools, branches of the EFF Students Command behind the EFF. It organizes information session regarding transformation of institution, of basic and higher learning so as to create opportunities for the first entry student in institution of higher learning. No activities were reported under this portfolio in the period under review. Gender officer. The portfolio is responsible for performing all functions required by the EFFSC and broader community on gender issues. It is also tasked with promotion and coordination of gender-related issues. Commissar Sianyulu is deployed to the portfolio and organize a pet drive at the Walter Sisulu University. In 2019, the Commissar worked with the University of Pretoria, Eff Students Command, and hosted Dr. Tlaling in a talk about sex work. At Rhodes University at the same year, there was a talk on issues faced by the LGBTQI community. Sports and Culture Officer. Commissar Isaac Machabela was tasked with this portfolio, which coordinates all sports and cultural forums of the Eff Students Command and also raises sponsorship with the Treasurer General to support recreational activities. In the period under review, only one inter-campus soccer tournament was held at Capricorn TVET College, Sishuo campus in March 2021. International Affairs Officer. The International Affairs Officer is Commissar Mafia Fan, who coordinates all matters pertaining to international relations. He is responsible for developing the international affairs policy and liaising with international students' organizations. The Commissar deployed to the International Affairs portfolio facilitated a meeting with members of the EFFSC Namibia in 2019, and no further activities were reported. Thereafter, Commissar Mafia Fani took a leave of absence from April 2022 to date. Student Services Officer. The officer in the portfolio is tasked with coordinating social awareness campaign and attending to matters of student concern as transport, catering, and financial aid. The Commissar deployed to the Student Services portfolio is Commissar Amy Noluvola, and no activities were reported for the period under review.
Point of order.
I'm still reading a report.
Point of order.
After the report is done.
Thank you, SG.
Residents lies in office. No, we'll take discussion, comrades. The officer in the portfolio is tasked with liaising with branches in terms of issues of accommodation in campuses. Commissar Tabang is deployed to this portfolio and no activities were reported for the period under review. Social Welfare Officer. The officer in the portfolio is tasked with intensifying community outreach projects, organizing and coordination of developmental projects in the broader community, facilitating workshops on campus to support and empower students wishing to use their skills and resources in the development of underdeveloped and disadvantaged communities. The fighter deployed to the social welfare portfolio was fighter Samuel Siweninel, who later resigned, and no activity were reported for the period under review. Stakeholder Relation Officer. Commissar Tebatso Makura was tasked with this portfolio, which liaises with all stakeholders in the education sector, and no activities were reported in the period under review. Attempts were made to reach the Commissar to no success. Disability Officer. The officer is tasked with initiating a national platform to obtain opinion on challenges related to students living with disabilities. Do research on and facilitating workshops on campuses to support and empower students with disability, and further creating a congent disability policy for the Eff Students Command. Fighter Nonhlanhla Shabalala was tasked with the portfolio, and no activity were reported in the period under review. Safety and security. The Safety and Security Officer is tasked with promoting the development of progressive security and safety. The fighter deployed to the Stakeholder Relation Officer portfolio was Fighter Daniel Tato, and no activity were reported for the period under review. The Undergraduate Officer. This portfolio is responsible for all academic matters affecting undergraduate students. The undergraduate chair is Commissar L. Masenya. In the period under review, no activity were reported. The Postgrad Officer. The portfolio is responsible for all academic matters affecting postgrad students nationally and is expected to initiate a national platform to obtain opinion on the challenges relating to postgrad students. Works with professional officers of the EFF to identify members of the Eff Students Command who are already professional while doing their postgrad studies and give them necessary support. The commissar deployed to the portfolio is Commissar Sovonkuna, who facilitated and organized the graduate during the EFFSC Youth Picket. Membership. Membership is the lifeblood of the organization. Membership remains growing quantitatively, and efforts of putting in place a membership system are ongoing. Due to the fact that membership of the Eff Students Command is driven by contact-based activities, membership was affected and dropped drastically following the advent of COVID-19. Without an explicit provision allowing for the organization to have an online membership, which takes into account the character of the Eff Students Command activities, online recruitment remains difficult. Without an efficient membership system, we will continue having problems, which was recently noted where there were signature campaigns, duplications, and dubious branches. Fighters, we must engage on the subject at hand, and hopefully the recruitment of students both physically and virtually or online can find expression in the Constitution. Moreover, moving forward, the organization will have to consider ways of fast-tracking membership, and amongst these interventions can be finding students who are in the coding and information technology space to set up an efficient membership system. The following table below is the representation of the membership system per province. In the Eastern Cape, we had 2,021 in 2019. Currently, we are at 4,748. In the Free State, we had 2,246. Currently, we are at 2,329. In Gauteng, we had 445. Currently, we are at 5,585. In KwaZulu-Natal, we had 4,474. Currently, we are at 7,472. In Limpopo, we had 2,916. Currently, we are at 2,938. In Mpumalanga, we had 2,425. Currently, we are at 2,502. In Northwest, we had 1,257. Currently, we are at 1,525. In the Northern Cape, we had 1,257. Currently, we dropped to 101. Western Cape. In the Western Cape, we had 3,203. Currently, we are at 4,114. In total, we're sitting in 2019, we're sitting at 23,844. Currently, we are at 31,274. Sorry, comrades, can I also have water? You can also have water wherever you are, chairs. We're at number 8 now. The state of provinces. Out of the 9 provinces, 8 have successfully convened their provincial student assemblies, with the exception of the Northern Cape. There are 82 university campuses and 251 TVET campuses, which amount to a total of 333 potential branches nationally. The provinces do not have provincial bank accounts now. Do they have assets except gazebo provided at the Provincial Students' Assembly? There are no funds yet raised, and the provinces rely heavily on the national resources, and a phenomenon that is not sustainable moving forward. The PSCTs will be going to all regions to communicate the upcoming SRC elections action plan. All branches that were launched have a functional and vibrant leadership. However, the issue of funding remains a stumbling block in the execution of the organizational duties. We now turn to deal with the provinces in sequence. 8.1, Eastern Cape. The Provincial Student Assembly was convened on the 29th of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the Provincial Student Command team, with Fighter Mvelo Abenta elected as the Provincial Chairperson and Fighter Vuyani Kako as the Provincial Secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat 3 times, on the 31st of May, the 4th of June 2022, and the 5th of June 2022. The province has 18 university campuses and 35 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 53 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at EFF Provincial Office in King Williamstown, Eastern Cape. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has not yet received any request for legal intervention since the election of the PSCT. Fighter Samgelo Mahlanza, who is the PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for legal affairs. All legal matters reported are still attended to politically without involvement of courts and lawyers. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Hlumelo Zondan to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of the organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. 8.2, the Free State. The PSA was convened on the 28th of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT, with Fighter Nkabane Selepe elected as the Provincial Chairperson and Fighter Mohau Sekele as the Provincial Secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat only 3 times, on the 2nd and the 28th June 2022 and the 10th of July 2022. The province has 6 university campuses and 20 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 26 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at the EFF Provincial Office in 39 Charlotte Macleke Street, Stabilitas Boulevard, 2nd floor, Suite 201, Bloemfontein. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. Fighter Rapedisang Mutwapong, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for legal affairs. The province has received 2 requests for legal intervention since the election of the PSCT. The matters relate to University of Free State Main Campus. SRC deployees were suspended for protecting and leading students against victimization from the university in terms of accommodation, and the Eff Students Command provided legal services, and the case is still in its concluding stages. There's an error, it's supposed to be number 2. 7 Eff Students Command PSCT members were suspended for calling a mass meeting for private accommodation and allowances, and the disciplinary proceedings will be finalized on the 29th of July 2022. A similar case affecting 15 PSCT members is pending. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Naledi Mukati to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. 8.3. Gauteng. The PSA was convened on the 29th of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the Provincial Student Command team, with Fighter Matimba Ngobeni elected as the Provincial Chairperson and Fighter Agnes Ramalepe as the Provincial Secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat only twice, on the 5th of June 2022 and the 24th of June 2022. The province has 21 university campuses and 46 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 67 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at the EFF Provincial Office in 77 Commissioner Street, Corner House Boulevard, 2nd floor, Johannesburg. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee, the PSDC. The communication and coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. Fighter Chimangazo Luvengo was appointed legal officer. The province has received 2 legal cases. The first one from the Central Johannesburg TVET College, Ellis Park Campus and Crown Mines Campus. The case was concerning students being evicted from their residences by the college management, and the second case is from Sedibeng Region, the Vaal University of Technology. The students have also been evicted out of their residences by their residential manager. All legal matters reported are attended by the CSCT Legal Counsel. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Julius Mukhadi to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of organizing includes organizing events, leading programs, and mobilization. 8.4 KwaZulu-Natal. The PSA was convened on the 22nd of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT, with fighter Kuzwayo Sandile elected as the provincial chairperson and fighter Kumet Mtumiseni as the provincial secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat 4 times. The province has 13 university campuses and 56 TVET campuses, which amount to a total of 69 potential branches. The provincial office remained located at the EFF provincial office in 86 Bulwa Road, Glenwood, Devon. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and the coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has received 4 requests for legal intervention since the election of the PSCT. The matters relate to 1. The suspension and arrest of SRC members in Coastal TVET College, Umbumbulu campus for damaging property of the institution. Number 2, arrest of the KwaZulu-Natal PSCT secretary, including the PSCT and CSCT members at Mangosuthu University of Technology for trespassing and arson. Number 3, suspension of the SRC members in University of KwaZulu-Natal PMP for fighting for unsourced workers to have benefits. The last case was the suspension of the Devon University of Technology Midlands campus, SG and DP, and the arrest of the 4 PSCT members for being involved on house strike. Fighters Bonello Mngube, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for legal affairs. The PSCT has appointed fighter Memela Mhlengi to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of the organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. 8.4. Limpopo. The PSA was convened on the 21st of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT, with fighter Rochizwa Mukwevo elected as the provincial chairperson and fighter Ondwera Mabiru as the provincial secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat only twice, on the 4th of June and on the 4th of July 2022. The province has 4 university campuses and 24 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 28 potential branches. The provincial office remained located at the EFF provincial office in 8A Landros Mare Street, Polokwane. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has not received any request for legal intervention since the election of the PSCT. Fighter Promise Kosane, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for the legal affairs. All legal matters reported are still attended politically without involvement of courts and lawyers. The PSCT has appointed fighter advocate Stolle to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of the organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns and mobilization. 8.6 Mpumalanga. The PSA was convened on the 21st of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT, with Fighter Wandile Ripenga elected as the provincial chairperson and Fighter Mpendulo Nyati as the provincial secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT sat only 3 times, on the 2nd of June 2022, on the 20th of June 2022, and on the 23rd of June 2022. The province has 7 university campuses and 18 TVET campuses, which amount to a total of 25 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at the EFF provincial office in 1 Ferreira Street, Nelspruit. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and the coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has only one pending legal matter where a student in Kangala, TVET College, with Bank campus was suspended for leading a protest for accommodation. The FFSC intervened and the student was brought back in the system, but the matter is ongoing. Fighter Leon Mashangu, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for legal affairs. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Celebrate Ricordo to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of the organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. We're now on 8.7, the Northwest. The Provincial Student Assembly was convened on the 22nd of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT, with Fighter Koketso Mbie elected as the provincial chairperson and Fighter Zenzo Hlazo as the provincial secretary. For the period under review, for the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat only twice on a virtual platform and once physically. The province has 5 university campuses and 10 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 15 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at EFF Provincial Office in Shop 22 Mandela Drive, Mafikeng. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and the coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has not yet received any legal intervention since the election of the province. Fighter Humulemo Sikuta, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for legal affairs. All legal matters reported are still attended to politically without involvement of courts and lawyers. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Obakwe Mamapula to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. 8.8, Northern Cape. The Northern Cape is led by the Provincial Interim Student Leadership Corps, with Fighter Katleho Danke as the convener and Fighter Buzan Ndebele as the coordinator. The province only launched 1 branch out of the 10 potential branches. TADS could not convene its Provincial Student Assembly. The newly elected CSCT must invest its resources in ensuring that the Northern Cape has its first Provincial Students Assembly. The last province, the Western Cape, 8.9. The PSA was convened on the 28th of May 2022 and successfully concluded incident-free. The PSA elected 21 members into the PSCT with fighter Sigelela Msizazu elected as the provincial chairperson and fighter Rekon Matebula as the provincial secretary. For the period under review, the newly elected PSCT has sat only once, on the 3rd of June 2022. The province has 7 university campuses and 33 TVET campuses, which amounts to a total of 40 potential branches. The provincial office remains located at the EFF Provincial Office in 4th floor, Dumbarton House, corner of One Church and Andeli Street, Cape Town. It is fully operational and opens every weekday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The PSCT has not yet established subcommittees such as the Provincial Student Disciplinary Committee. The communication and coordination of the office is supervised by the Provincial Secretary. The province has not yet received any request for legal intervention since the election of the PSCT. Fighter Posisa Mambane, who is a PSCT member, was appointed to be responsible for the legal affairs. All legal matters reported are still attended to politically without involvement of courts and lawyers. The PSCT has appointed Fighter Bulunko Mpambane to lead the portfolio on organizing. The role of the organizer includes organizing events, leading campaigns, and mobilization. National programs, number 9. In light of the 3rd NSA conference resolution, which consolidate all decisions of the conference and furthermore gives the mandate to the next layer of leadership in terms of the realization of strategic mission. These programs are the voice in action of marginalized and dejected student populace. The organization is heeding this call. The organization in heeding this call coordinated various programs in the period under review. Amongst them are the following. A. Sizofunda ngenkani 2019-2, sizofunda ngenkani 2022. The hashtag Sizofunda ngenkani campaign continued to intensify its objective of fighting against mandatory, structural, academic, and financial exclusion, access to accommodation, study material to be delivered on time, vaccination and NSFAS allowances to be dispatched on time. Many institutions were heeding to the call as our branch leaders and SRC members continued to engage management and other stakeholders to this effect. Over 90% of the TVET colleges allowed students to access their institution without being compelled to produce the COVID-19 test certificate. This was seen as an achievement of the organization, as it was the stance of the organization that institutions of higher learning must not force students to provide vaccination certificate in order to access their campuses. B. The Eff Youth Picket. The EFF held the picket outside the Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology on the 30th of June 2022. This picket served to vocalize and once more remind the department, amongst other issues, of our dissatisfaction and fury with the higher education sector and the GPV pandemic in institution of higher learning, which doesn't get the attention and outrage it deserves from institution. A list of 16 demands in the memorandum was given to Mr. Lakima Masugu, the Assistant Director at DHED. The EFF versus DHED stroke UNISA Council, picketing outside structural exclusion. The Eff Students Command approached the High Court of South Africa Gauteng Division Pretoria, in a case against the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Blaine Nzimande, and the University of South Africa to have the directive given to the minister to cut the number of first-time entering students by 20,000 overturned. On the 4th of March, the EFFSC held a national picket outside the courthouse during the court proceedings. The EFFSC won the case as the court set aside the directive given by the minister and dismissed the case with cost. The Central Student Governance Summit. The Eff Students Command hosted the Central Student Governance Summit from the 14th to the 16th January 2022. The summit brought together all campus chairpersons, secretaries, and EFFSC SRC deployees in universities and TVET colleges across all public institutions of higher learning to deliberate and resolve on a uniform approach towards the hashtag Sizofunda Ngenkani 2022 campaign and to guide branches on organizational and governance objectives for the academic year. The summit was convened in Gauteng, Tshwane, Kigni State over a period of 2 days, where delegates fully participated in presentation, plenary session, and commission, which deliberated on issues related to NSFAS, organizational building, finance and fundraising, programs and campaigns, and political education. Hashtag Free Education Run. On the 4th of March 2022, the Eff Students Command held its hashtag Free Education Rally at the University of Limpopo Teflock campus. Its objective was to bring together all students, young people and sympathizers to rally behind our generational mission as we realign the motive forces behind its founding principle of free, quality and well-resourced education. Number F, the Eff Students Command strategy on the online million membership campaign. The Eff Students Command instructed all structures of the Eff Students Command to ensure that all paid-up membership also join the EFF and pay membership fee accordingly. Furthermore, all EFFSC members were directed to be in full regalia every Friday. All PSCTs and PSTTs were to create a central point of information with a red gazebo, table and red tablecloth, EFFSC membership forms, and EFFSC membership forms to ensure dual recruitment approach. The PSCTs and PSTTs were instructed to recruit a minimum of 100 EFF members per EFFSC branch. The EFF membership forms should be submitted to the EFF regional offices in order for the membership to be redirected to the specific EFFSC branch so that they can participate in EFF branch programs and be registered voters. It should be noted that the task at hand was not done to its utmost best. This was seen when reports were requested on the progress, as well as pictures and videos through the communique sent by the SGO. Few branches submitted weekly reports. This negatively affected the whole program. The organization must then engage on these behavioral patterns as it has a potential of undermining the organizational mandate. Number G. EFFSC Free Education and Blade Must Fall Picket. The EFFSC embarked on a march to the Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology from the 5th to the 7th of April 2022 to demand free education as well as the immediate removal of the Minister of Higher Education, amongst other issues. The incompetency has shown concerning planning for the influx of first years entering students who were denied access based on the department's shortcomings and failure to deliver free education. The minister arrogantly refused to avail himself and failed to delegate an official in his office to receive the memorandum. Seeing that our call has fell on deaf ears, we felt it was necessary to march to the union buildings where we will submit our memorandum to the head of state. The EFF Union Building March. On the 8th of April 2022, the EFFSC marched to the union buildings to deliver a memorandum of demand and to demand the removal of Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, as well as to demand the implementation of free education, which was pronounced by the government on the 16th of December 2017. The EFF Fundraising Gala Dinner. The Eff Students Command held a gala dinner on the 17th of July 2022 at the Bedgewood Hotel and OR Tambo Conference Center, Bosberg, Gauteng. Amongst other objectives, the gala dinner aimed at raising funds for the incoming CSCT and create a platform for intellectual and ideological discourse towards the fourth NSA. The gala dinner was attended by CSCT members, PSCT members, and branch members, academics, and entrepreneurs. Number 10. The relationship between the EFF and the EFF Students Command. Section 2, subsection 1 of the EFF Students Command Constitution described the EFFSC as an EFF student political organization with relative autonomy, characterized as a student movement which seeks to act in the interest of all students in South Africa, Africa and the world, striving for economic emancipation in our lifetime. The relationship between the EFF and the EFF Students Command continues to allow the EFF Students Command to grow its political muscle. Through the organization's participation in the Central Command Team and War Council, the EFF Students Command is able to gain guidance and wisdom from the leadership. Fighters, we must not lose sight of the fact that the EFF Students Command is still at the stage of growth. We must honestly reflect on our qualitative growth since our establishment, and in that we will agree that the EFF Students Command has not built itself as a formidable brand. While the organization remains the only alternative voice, there is a need for it to be positioned as a force to be reckoned with in the student arena. It does not end there. The continual intervention made by the EFF over the years proved to this fact. The EFF continues to assist us in terms of hosting our headquarters, providing us with resources and other intervention not necessarily of financial nature from time to time. We appreciate the consistent role and support which the EFF continues to play in the growth of the EFF. Number 11, governance. The organization's footprint in winning SRC election continues to fluctuate. Presently, the EFF has 15 presidents, SRC president, and 15 secretary generals in institutional or central. A report allowing the institution is found in Annex A. While the increase is to be welcome, there is a great concern regarding situation where the EFFSC wins and lose the following year. It is our assessment that the decline are due to the poor management of those elected to the SRC. When fighters assume office, they become arrogant and choose to lead themselves while behave like a structure supreme to the branch. The transition between campaigning and assuming office is also one that is not currently monitored closely. We recommend to the Assembly to adopt the establishment of an EFF Students Command Governance Task Unit, the GTU, which will conduct inductions, regular training, and oversight of newly elected SRC members. It will also focus on student parliament, committees, and all matters pertaining to governance. Moreover, the task unit should be able to facilitate process leading to the SRC candidate election, which will ensure that candidates with capacity, competency, and organizational discipline represent the organization in the SRC. Furthermore, we have noted that the different voting systems and the SRC constitution make it difficult for the organization to act on its own deployees, and that can be drawn in situation where the constitution views the candidate as an independent in the institutional system, and therefore it limits the organization in executing its constitutional duties, e.g., recalling of the members where violation has taken place and failure to collect party levy. Gender-based violence in institution of higher learning. Gender-based violence is a known common ill in our South Africa's society that has left no sector untouched and hence infests our institution of higher learning. Current studies on this subject suggest that the problem is one of epidemic proportion deserving of an immense amount of attention in order to attack every side of it. Tertiary institutions not only have high numbers of GBV cases, but also seem to possess these poor processes for survivors to report and or have their cases heard. Most institutions do not have ways in which to support survivors emotionally and or physically. This inherently allows for the number of cases to increase as the issues is left unaddressed. Inevitably, leading students to suffer as their academic environment is not one suitable or conducive for their education. The combating of GBV must always remain at the center of our struggles and should be given necessary attention. As such, the establishment of a gender-based committee at branch level in all institutions is proposed. The proposal is based on the indivisible nature of women and LGBTQIA+ rights, on the obligation of leadership to protect and uphold those rights, and on the conviction that respect for human rights is also an essential condition for development of the Economic Freedom Fighters Students Command. This committee will be working closely or in addition to the current line of the structures detailed in our Constitution. The purpose: to provide urgent attention and protocol to the crisis of gender-based violence in institutions of higher learning. The focus will be on providing support in pursuit of justice in conjunction with methods of promoting accountability, ensuring that spaces are not enabling to such abhorrent behaviors, ultimately mitigating GBV in institutions of higher learning. Goals: urgently respond to victims and survivors of GBV, broadening access to justice for survivors, changing social norms and behaviors through high-level awareness, raising and preventing campaigns in order to end the tolerance of all forms of GBV. Strengthening existing protocol and mechanism, providing support, ultimately promoting accountability. Capacity building and training for fighters taking up leadership positions and structures. Design and implementation of new protocol at branch level and the development of working methods. Obituary. In the period under review, the organization was hit by a wave of unfortunate and sad occasion of death of some of its most trusted fighters. and amongst them are Fighter Lutando Mgoduga, Fighter Pumlane Stole, Fighter Yondela Mutsinyane, Fighter Ntogozo Mabilan, Fighter Tsepang Mukudi, Fighter Zikona Ntabedi, Fighter Sipogutle Kweka, Fighter Quiz Majova, Fighter Sihlisipo Jigela, Fighter Nelisiwe Nomakala, Fighter Mbali Hlongwane, Fighter Brian Mlambo, Fighter Mlungisi Madonsela, Fighter Lindani Mzovo, Fighters Fiso Matenju, Fighter Hlonipani Jangaza, Fighter Londiwe Klasani. May their soul rest in perfect revolutionary peace. In conclusion, as we reflect on the state of the organization and the forces which were at play in shaping its architecture between the third and the fourth NSA, we must commend the ground forces for their tireless efforts, sacrifice, and contribution to the cause as we pursue the struggle for free, quality, well-resourced, and decolonized education. As we advocate for the Eff Students Command to officially include decoloniality as part of characterization of our envisioned free education, we are reminded of words by Vladimir Lenin when he characterized what should define education for the exploited. He argued that, unquote, the real education of the masses can never be separated from their independent political and especially revolutionary struggle. Only struggle educates exploited class. Only struggle discloses it to the magnitude of its own power, widens its horizon, enhances its abilities, clarifies its mind, forges its will. Of quote, Lenin lecture on the 1905 revolution. It was 1917. As the assembly engages and resolves on the type and character of leadership needed to grow and develop the organization further, we must remain organizational and disciplined. We must put aside personal ambitions and attitude which are not organizational. At the center of all discussion, we must be putting the interest of the organization and collective above that of an individual. We salute fighters and their leadership at branch level who remain steadfast and resolute on mobilizing students. We say this because we understand that the branch remains the nucleus of the organization. Without the organization at branch level, the organization ceases to exist. It is through your hard work and determination that saw provinces reaching the set target of 90% of the launched branches. It is through your hard work and efforts that we saw the success of provincial student assemblies nationwide. Fighters, you are the rightful owners of the organization in all institutions of higher learning. Make sure that you protect and defend the organization at all material times. Always isolate infiltrators, sellouts, and agent provocateurs who seek to put the organization on its needs We see you, sellouts. Fighters, it is Comrade Cabral who said to us that we must, on quote, tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told, mask no difficulties, mistake failures, claim no easy victories, of quote. They lead up to the National Student Assembly from branch to the provincial assemblies has exposed those who are in it for self-indulgence and interest. They go around the country inciting leadership of the organization so that they can sound revolutionary, confuse and manipulate genuine members of the Eff Students Command. They make t-shirts with their faces, something that not even the commander-in-chief of the EFF will do. They weaponize and vulgarize the term ground force. There are no special and VIP ground forces here. We are all ground forces. We all contribute to the growth of this movement. We all sacrifice our lives and academics to fight for the black child. We all spend long days and hours recruiting on the ground and campaigning for this organization. We are one. Those who think that they have monopoly of VIP status of ground force must be exposed and isolated. Every member here works hard for the Students' Command. And no one is special. No one. We must be careful of such characters because they reduce assemblies to positions, as opposed to a festival of ideas. Yes, there is nothing wrong with contestation. In fact, contestation is good because it shows that there is a living and vibrant student movement. There is also nothing wrong with giving constructive criticism to the leaders of the movement. We are here to serve you and the organization. We account to you. You must always guide us. But all of this must be done within the values and principles of the organization. For example, if you are a member of a BSCT at a branch level, you cannot go criticize and insult your branch chairperson to general membership. But you remain mum and quiet in BSCT meetings. The same applies to provinces and national. What separates us from anarchism is revolutionary discipline. We are a Leninist organization, not a group of anarchists. We abide by the principles of democratic centralism. The interest of the collective must always supersede the interest of the individual. We will have done a huge mistake if we were to close off without thanking the collective leadership led by Comrade Manda Shikwamban. And notably, at times we disagree and robustly took on each other's political views. But that is the nature of leadership and leading, especially in agile student movement such as ours. The collective and the unified position with which we all emerged points to the fact that our organization is living and will continue to live for the years ahead. We must also thank the delegates, present and absent, who have made this assembly a success. Without their resilience and contribution, the task of the leadership elected in the third NSA would have been more challenging. We also wish to thank our volunteers, staff, and family who backed us up at all times. As we do the organizational analysis and diagnosis, it is clear that the journey which lies ahead demands the quality of leadership which will be bold and selfless in the face of immense opposition. As a student organization, the only way in which we can capture power is through victoriously taking over SRCs. There has been a growing trend of inconsistency in terms of student governance, wherein we win and we lose the following year, which hinders progress in terms of achieving our strategic goal. A year is too long for an institution to take decisions which will bind SRCs which succeed. We need to be in the forefront of decision making if we must capture institutional power. It is worth noting that the CSCT has challenges in its executing. It is worth noting that the CSCT has had challenges in executing its primary mandate. This was worsened by members who abandoned their responsibilities immediately after being elected in the third NSA. When deployed to provinces, some neglect their deployment to go sow division in other provinces. It is easy for members to accept nomination when asked if they are available. However, when it is time to honor their responsibilities, they are nowhere to be found. This places a tremendous burden on the officials as they have to take responsibility on all those abandoned portfolios. We should always keep in mind that the revolution is pain, and in pursuing it, one requires patience, love for the organization, and love for one another. Leadership demands commitment, hard work, and sacrifice. It is usually those without responsibility to lead that find fault in everything. Are we ready for the revolution? Are we ready for the pain? We hope that this assembly will live up to the theme of reigniting intellectual and ideological discourse towards economic freedom in our lifetime. Amandla! Amandla!